All right, everybody, welcome back to the #1 television program in the history of the entire universe. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon, The Blackest Heart, and The Lonesome Crown, all three books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today I'm going to be reviewing, let's see here, Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. Got several different versions of the book here. Came out in 1811. We'll talk about the covers in a minute because, I love graphic design and cover illustration. But I wanted to read Sense and Sensibility at the same time I was reading Thomas Hardy's Far from the Madding Crowd, because I believe that these are both romanticist writers. They wrote about romance in English society back in the 1800s. And I wanted to kind of get the woman's perspective and then the man's perspective on sort of romance in that era. So tomorrow you will see my review of Far from the Madding Crowd. But for today, we're going to be concentrating on Sense and Sensibility. And I will compare and contrast here and there the two different books and the different sort of perspectives from the male writer to the female writer writing about English society back in the day. Anyway, this one came out in 1811. It was Jane Austen's first book. Not really considered her best book by any stretch of the imagination, but I decided if I'm going to read Jane Austen and review them for the channel, I'm going to read them in publication order, in the order that she wrote and published them. 1811. Now, I do have the Signet version, the mass market paperback, which I quite like. I've got this Wadsworth Classic version, which is cool. Now, the Wadsworth Classic version has some cool illustrations, if I can find them. There we go. It's got, about a dozen different illustrations in it like this, which I thought was kind of cool. So the Wadsworth Classic version is nice in a way. The paperback version is nice in a way. But back here, I've got this Barnes & Noble collector's edition of 7 Jane Austen novels. And it looks it's kind of a fancy book. It's fancy schmancy. So I'm glad I got that. It looks nice and pretty on the shelf, if nice and pretty is what you're going for. So anyway, let's talk about, which one should I hold up? Which cover do I like the most? I think I like the Wadsworth Classic cover a little bit more. It's just got the gold foil lettering that's kind of shiny in the light. You can see, and it's so shiny, it's like burning my retina. But I like it a little better than this one. They're both kind of simplistic and dull. Let's be frank. Neither one of them is a standout, smashing success. But this one's a little better. Anyway, so first thing I want to say about this is I do remember, I don't watch a lot of Jane Austen movies. I remember one that had a character named Mr. Darcy. I don't think it was, I can't remember what I was just like, Mr. Darcy disgusted me. And but this one is not about Mr. Darcy. This one is another one. I do recall there being a movie that I saw which starred like Emma Thompson and Kate Winslet, but I saw it so long ago, like when I was in college. I don't remember anything about it. But anyway, those are the movies, whatever. If you're a Jane Austen fan, you've probably seen all of them. I saw Austen Land. Of all things, Austen Land. That was a funny movie. Anyway, okay, so first off, this, and this will make sense towards the end of my little rant here. First off, this seemed to be like a painful, disturbing novel. Even if it's kind of a romantic and slightly comedic book, it just ultimately came off as kind of tragic to me, just because we're talking about high British class society, high British class structure. The setting of this book is all about money and property and male heirs. The men always just, everything is bequeathed to the men. They are the ones with the money, the property. It's all about having the right manners, the importance of English decorum, the social landscape of the time was gentlemen and gentlewomen, and everybody must live according to the expectations of their parents, and And that's kind of why I just thought this book was kind of like, oh my God, a little bit disturbing. I mean, I get it. I mean, I understand why things were the way they were, some 200 years ago. And it was a different time and a different place, and people had to survive in different ways. But these poor people having to put up with that. I mean, I grew up in a religious household where a lot of this kind of like putting on airs just so the neighbors think you're better than you really are is an actual thing. It's an actual thing even today in a lot of our society where people want to keep up with the Joneses or be more holier than thou kind of a thing. So I wanted to read the back of this version because I think it gives a pretty good description of what's going on in the book. Jane Austen, young women who have no economic or political power must attend to the serious business of contriving material security. That's what it says right on the back. That's why I said this. To me, this book almost read like a tragic comedy. Jane Austen's sardonic humor lays bare the stratagems, the hypocrisy, and the poignancy inherent in the struggles of two very different sisters to achieve respectability. Sense and Sensibility is a delightful comedy of manners in which the sisters Eleanor and Marianne represent these two qualities. Eleanor's character is one of Augustinian detachment, while Marianne, a fervent disciple of the Romantic age, learns to curb her passionate nature in the interests of survival. Anyway, yeah, it's the whole theme of the book. Everybody in this English-British society that's just sort of coming out of Victorian England they're just like all about what y'all do what society tells you to do. So yeah, Eleanor Dashwood, the oldest daughter of John Dashwood, she's discreet, she's rather quiet, full of good sense. The other daughter, Marianne, she is kind of younger, well-disposed, and good-humored, clever, emotional, eager drama. I mean, there's a lot of contradictions in these characters. But anyway, this whole family, they move to there's another girl, Margaret or something like that. And she that isn't mentioned a lot, another sister. But anyway, the girls, they move to a new home. That's the beginning of the book. They're moving to a new home called Barton Cottage, as people used to name their houses. And once they arrive at Barton Cottage, they immediately start scoping out the available men in and around the town. And then we launch into numerous discussions of these men's ages. How old are they? Are they too old for me? Too young for me? What clothing are they wearing? Are their clothing choices are sus? Oh my God, this guy dresses like a donkey. Oh, this guy dresses too elaborate. Their possible ailments. This man, I don't know if I could marry him. He's got all these different medical issues. Oh my God. The different diseases they might have. I mean, these girls just gossip about every dude in this town. Like, well, I mean, I can't go with him. He's too old. What a creep. This guy's too nice. This guy's too kind of an asshole. But they all kind of like, I mean, this is where I'm going to compare and contrast a little bit to Far From the Madding Crowd. These girls, they are choosing their men based off of solely how much money these men can provide them and how much status in the society. And this is why it's just kind of like a tragic book to me. This is all they're concentrated on. Now, in Far From the Madding Crowd, the man, from the male point of view, when he's trying to figure out what kind of woman he wants, he's just looking at tits and ass and pretty face. That's basically what it boiled down to for the guy. For these girls, they have a list of different things that they want their man to be. And then the men, of course, fall short. They fall short. Eleanor, she kind of is keen on Edward, but he's a bit of a downer. I mean, he's a bit of just a downer, but he's got some cash. And then Marianne, she's with Willoughby, who is always just kind of disappearing on her, just ghosting her. It's just like he's leaving her in the lurch at around every corner, and she just can't like, but it just makes her more like him more. I mean, she's frustrated with him, and that's all they talk about. I mean, they get together and they just talk about how much they hate these guys, but they love them too. I mean, they just love them, and then and that's all they do. This is just all it's about. It's just that's relentless women sitting around just talking about how up every man in the world is, but yet they need this to succeed in society, to be accepted in society. They need to use their what they need to use their womanly charms and their good looks to land a guy that can. And I think that Jane Austen understands this and is poking fun of it. That's what it boils down to. She's just kind of like, that's why it's a comedy. It's a tragic comedy. They're all tragic clowns. Everyone in this book is a fool. That's what I gathered from it. But it makes sense. We're all fools. I'm a fucking fool. When it comes to relationships and love, we are all fools. And what Sense and Sensibility does for us is it takes us back in time and lets us see that even back then, when it comes to deciding who we're going to be with the rest of our lives, we just are looking at all the wrong things. We're just choosing the wrong people. But it all turns out happy in the end. It does. It turns out happy in the end. Everybody cries in the end, and everybody gets what they want. Spoiler. Should have not told you that. Anyway, what did I think of Sense and Sensibility? I mean, I loved reading this. I just loved the perspective of this writer, Jane Austen, and what she was saying about her time and place. I never lived in the 1800s. I don't know. That's the only thing I can glean from it is what I can glean from it, right? I mean, I'm reading these books and I'm like, this lady lived through it. She must know what she's talking about. And she's making a commentary about it in this book. And I was delighted with it. I mean, was it the most fantastic thing I've ever read? Not even close. I would give this, just overall in my scheme of all of the books I read, my library's got 6,000 some odd books: westerns, thrillers, mystery, science fiction, fantasy, horror, and then classics. This would probably fall around like a 7.8 out of 10. Good enough for me to be entertained wildly at times and make me think, but boring too at the same time. But at least it kept my interest in its dullness. To the tune of 7.8. Let's give it 7.8 out of 10 for Sense and Sensibility.